Good morning, tubers, and it is time to finish the Sunl 110cc quad. We're going to start off by welding this up. You guys can see I already cleaned it. I got to push it back into place. I noticed also that this side is cracked, so I'm going to tack that up also. Before I start welding on this, there's a couple of things I did. I took the CDI module out and I unplugged the voltage regulator. The chances of the welder damaging them, probably fairly small, but why take the chance, right? Especially if this is the only all-terrain vehicle you're working on, you don't have a pile of spare parts and everything else. Why blow up something that you don't need to blow up? So I'm gonna tack this up and we'll see what we can do. So I threw 3 tack welds on that. The problem is I hear water boiling. I think this whole thing is full of water. I'm gonna have to drill a hole down here on both sides, make sure I drain it out, right? Welding with water in there is not a good thing, and even if the welds are successful, quite honestly, the next problem I have is eventually that water will freeze and break this pipe. I drilled the hole, and sure enough, water came out. Not a ton, but enough that it's good that it's not in there anymore. I also drilled a hole up there, and I did the same for this guy. Okay, the next thing I want to do is clean up this battery box situation. Obviously, putting these bolts the other way around would be a good idea, right? That way I don't put racing stripes on my legs should I get too close to them, particularly this guy. So, I mean, the battery isn't in horrible shape, but it's only supported about up to here. I think what I want to do is put a piece of sheet metal just in along the bottom to help support it a little better, and we'll turn those around. Now, sheet metal, the nice thick gauge stuff, if one has some old computers floating around, this is a great place to get it from, right? It's nice and thick. You could cut it into shape. There's the grinder right there. I mean, you know, obviously pay attention, wear your goggles and everything else. No need to damage your eyes. But I'm going to start cutting that up. We'll smash it into place and all will be good. So here we have all the tools of the trade for making the battery box, right? Ruler, marker, prefer one of them Sharpie type markers. The grinder, I'm just going to cut that out. We'll smash that into place. So I think my little sheet metal L is ready to go. I mean, remember to take that few extra seconds to clear off the edges, round the corners and all that. It's just a little more high quality work, and you don't want a sharp edge wearing its way through the battery or anything. Just do nice work, right? Don't do hacker work. So here we have it. The battery is nicely in the battery box. I keep inner tube tires floating around, not just because I'm a crazy hoarder, because you could do stuff like this, right? With this wrapped around here nice and tight, it keeps everything from moving, which is really what you want, right? You don't want the battery dancing around. They don't last as long if they keep shuddering about. So I put on the front plastic, which means the on and off switch is now, you know, the key switch is now connected, and I turned it on, and initially I got nothing. Now you can see the 0 comes on. Well, that's a good sign. And the reason why I got nothing was the fuse was unhappy. So I kind of moved that around and I got power again. By the way, this plastic is like extremely brittle. Quite honestly, it wouldn't hurt to replace that. And when I plugged in the wires for the key switch, that connector was extremely brittle. So one needs to be aware of that, right? It could be easy that the plastic breaks away where the power is and the power hits up against the frame and it pops that fuse there. Then you can't start. You could still turn it on and off. It'll still run, but you won't be able to engage the starter. Anyway, I got my nice little 0 there, and I got nothing. So, oh wait a minute. This is one of those that I have to squeeze the clutch in and lock it to get that. So let me do that. There you go. I mean, these are situations we're all going to run into. I put the gas tank on and the gas line. I like using a little bit of clear gas line so I can actually watch the fuel flow. Right, the gas is on. The choke has to be turned on from the other side. Let's see if we can't get this thing to fire up. And then before I finish putting the plastic on, I do want to take it for a ride to make sure I got no surprises. Good. Let's see. I expect her to fire right up. Let's see if I'm happy. Well, so much for that. I'm going to give it a little hoot of starting fluid because I just put gas in the gas tank and maybe it washed some ugliness in. So here's some of that amazing Walmart starting fluid. I've had people warn me that you got to be careful with this stuff. You can blow up your motor. I have yet to have had that happen, and if it's going to happen, I just as soon it happen on this thing. So start it. Looks like I got a tail light lit up. Obviously the choke's on. I'm going to let this thing warm up. I want to get a little ride out of it before I finish putting the plastic on. So it does appear as if I have some electrical issues here. The battery is not changing, charging. The tail light is on. Give it some gas, right? I mean, maybe it's charging a little bit. The headlights won't come on. This fuse don't look healthy. So I am going to have to spend a few minutes messing with this thing, trying to figure out what it's up to. But I just want to get a quick ride out of it to see how it's feeling before I put like all the plastic on, and then you gotta kind of crawl underneath it to do anything. So let me get that done. Maybe I'll take you out for a quick ride. So let's see if we can't get a ride out of this thing. Unfortunately, with the China stuff, you never really know what kind of shape it's in until you drive it. Once you drive it, then you'll figure out if it's got other issues. Oh, like an issue like idiot forgets to release the brake before attempting to back up. So just a quick comment so far. The transmission is clunky, going backwards. It handles like skittish. So we're at first. We'll do some first, second wind-ups. See how it does. My wife's out. Just gonna make sure I don't go blasting to the end of the driveway to discover her coming my way. It does appear to have some kind of brakes. Not sure how good they are yet. I guess we'll find out in a second. Okay, here we go. Third. I gotta tell you, I had like nothing in third. I think this is just a 3-speed. I think the clutch is slipping. I don't know. It seems the engine speeds up and the bike doesn't really move. Hit third, but unless I want to find out what it feels like to run into a Toyota. Second. That's third. I might be back in this carburetor again. You guys can see why I don't want to put the plastic back on quite yet. First, second, third. Wow. Yeah, I think this is just a 3-speed. Let's do a light shifting. First, second, third. Yeah, it's just a 3-speed in reverse. Must be that third gear must be crazy tall. So the good news is the Sunl 110 made it to the garage under its own power. The bad news is it is not ready to go back together again. It has electrical problems, and quite simply, it just does. The key switch does not turn it off. Should you hook up the electrical system, the wiring seems to get hot. It's blowing the fuse, and you got to kind of, if you do kind of short the electrical system together, bypass the fuse, so to speak, you can use the push button to start it, and it does start. So the starter relay is good, and those switches are good. The tail light seems to work, the headlights do not. And given that the headlights don't seem to come on and it's blowing the fuse, I think the problem might be with the headlights, or it might be more than that. Anyway, so I have to go through the electrical system and figure out what its problems are. When I was riding it, I mentioned the clutch seems a little skittish, a little shaky, a little weak. As I was riding it, it seemed to get better. So maybe it cleaned itself up. Maybe it just needed the cobwebs blown out of it. Whatever. The clutch did seem to get better. The carburetor seemed to get better. It did seem to run better the more I ran it. I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do with this switch situation, quite honestly. I don't like the switch in the fender. I'd rather have the switch, you know, around the dashboard somewhere. So, yeah, I'm not quite sure what I'm gonna gonna do with that. I hate it that you gotta plug and unplug a key switch when you're taking the fenders on and off. At least they have the headlights remote from the fenders. So basically what I'm telling you is I really did want to finish this up, and I cannot finish it up today. It needs more love and attention than I could give it at the moment. So I am going to finish this video for now, and for those of you who want to learn how to troubleshoot the electronics on this thing, we'll go through that. The ignition seems to be okay. The starter circuit seems to be okay. It just seems to be a short in the 12-volt system somewhere, and I'm thinking it might have to do with the headlights, but I don't know that. I gotta go through it all. Anyway, in the meantime, I want to thank everybody for dropping by to watch and comment and subscribe. Please remember, keep your feet down, your heads up, and get out and enjoy each and every day. Bye now.